Today on Aging Untold, having the final say.
Don't you treat me like I'm a kid.
When you think an aging parent is making bad decisions, and as the caregiver, you want to put your foot down, when should you compromise? Then,
I remember getting a call from a gentleman and he was freaking out because he'd had his first bath by a woman.
a smelly situation, navigating the delicate discussion of seniors and their hygiene, how empathy can help break the ice. Plus,
everyone always thinks like, oh, my grandmother had it, or my grandfather had it, my great-grandma had it.
why strokes are becoming more common in men and women under the age of 45, and how you can reduce your risk. Then, inspiration in the open air.
So you're looking up, it's giving you a different angle and more access to places.
Meet the artist who gets up close to paint Mother Nature's portraits. Experts with advice and solutions. You're watching Aging Untold with Aging Well coach Catherine Ambrose, gerontologist Sam Craddock, aging expert Amy O'Rourke, and board-certified physician Dr. Ray Rogers. We're all getting older. It's about time we talked about it.
Welcome to Aging Untold. There's something interesting that happens as we age. It's like the movie Freaky Friday when the kid becomes the parent and the parent becomes the kid. But things can get complicated when adult children try to assume the parental role if they think mom or dad is making bad decisions. Not even toddlers want to be told what to do, let alone our older parents. But ladies, what if the choices they're making aren't good for them? Sam, what do you think about parenting parents?
It infuriates me to hear that terminology because parents don't need parents. They need support. They may need support, but they don't need to be parented. They've had parents. They probably lost their parents. They don't need somebody to come in and try and take over that role. They don't need you jumping in and trying to control everything. They might need some support and some help. I think we all do.
Here's the phrase that makes the hair stick out on the back of my neck. Role reversal.
Oh,
Oy, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So, but I have empathy for anybody that's out there because in the fragile years, when you're caregiving, you don't know how else to be. Nobody's teaching, how do I relate now? I remember I was trying to get my dad to do something and I slipped into being, Dad, this is what you need to do. And later on, he looked at me and he goes, you're being really bossy. He gave it back to me and I thought I got impatient and I just wanted to get the job done and I reverted into telling them what to do, but it was offensive.
But sometimes they're just, the children or the caregiver, they're being protective. So that line between protective and parenting, they don't know where that is.
I understand that. I really, really, really do. And I understand that they're coming at it from their only knowledge and perspective of providing care. So most of us learn how to provide care as parents. We learn how to take care of our children or our nieces and nephews. And so then we translate that off to our parents when they need help. But that phrase, and I'm sure you've heard it, once a man, twice a child. You want to make my blood boil? Tell me that, because we do not age backwards. We go one direction and then we go through our final sunset. We don't become children again just because we need help. We're not being trained.
So that might be a nice solution for people who are caregivers or especially children who need help to understand that, wow, you don't have to parent them, you don't have to be protective, but there's a way to do it to help them.
So let's say both generations involved need to learn how to communicate with each other. And that's what we're trying to do here on Aging Untold, is give people clues on how to communicate better so that respect and dignity is there. And that without knowing that we are being offensive, crossing the line.
Yeah.
What I like to think about is like collaboration, like talking about, I'm thinking about, bathing. Is there a time this morning that works for you? And the other thought is some things you might want to get done on a certain timeline. Let go of the timeline. Like allow for some empathy and flexibility and be in a place that you don't have 10 other things to do so that you can really be where you are.
The problem is most family caregivers, never have a time that they don't have 10 other things to do. So in all reality, most family caregivers don't. And we aren't talking about our severe cognitive impairment. We're not talking about our age community that aren't capable of making decisions. We're talking about those that are still cognitively whole for the most part, maybe impaired, but still able. And so allowing them to make decisions, bad decisions are part of life.
It's like you have to be a little more clever and nuanced, just like maybe with, with other people in your life. Like, how can I get them to think it was their idea?
Yeah,
Or
but
how can I
also I'm
partner
going to
with-
challenge your thought with the, all people have 10 other things to do. That might be true, but I think we need to be teaching them a way to put that aside and be there and have those challenges, those 10 things not bugging you. And not everybody is in the place of the 10 things. Some aren't that way. So I think we need to allow for all kinds of life rhythms, if you will.
But have they ever thought about, we talk about people making bad decisions. Why are they making those decisions?
A lot of times it's because they're trying to hold on to, I want to make my own decision, autonomy. And so if you start telling somebody what to do, what are they going to do? They're going to go,
But who decides if it's a bad decision?
Yeah, right.
What's my decision might be bad for you. You might not like it.
Well,
So if I want cake for dinner, you're probably going to raise an eyebrow or two at me.
no, but there's one thing to have a bad decision, because that's a decision. It's another thing to have an addiction.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we have to look at the difference between the two.
But what we have to realize on that too is so frequently our kids, they want to keep us. They're not ready to lose us. And so they're going to choose quantity over our quality. So maybe having a piece of cake at night when you're diabetic isn't the best thing, and your child's looking at you like you're going to die and I'm not ready to lose you. So could there be a compromise? Could I have a smaller piece of cake?
I'm getting kale cake.
Yeah. So it's kale cake. It's quality versus quantity, and you don't get to determine what my quality is.
one of the best things that we can do is have these conversations early and often.
That's right.
So while you still have your mind together, that you're having conversations, and most importantly, you're identifying resources in your local community, people that can help you when you need to phone a friend, when you need, when you need somebody on the line.
And just don't be closed-minded.
Coming up, a woman's disbelief became a harsh reality.
And then I realized my entire left side went down. I had the facial drooping, I had my slurred speech. So I sat there and I was like, okay, is this really happening?
We examine a recent surge of strokes in young people, explain what's behind the spike, and give you solutions to manage risks. But first, battling bad hygiene.
Well, I think it's legitimate fear because there's a lot of consequences that happen after you fall.
Why it's not always about laziness, but sometimes safety.
There's nothing funny about smelling funny. There are many reasons why some seniors struggle with poor hygiene, and when it comes to bathing, the fear of falling is one of them. Falls are the leading cause of injury for adults 65 and older. Every year, 1 in 4 fall. So let's talk about those fears and what makes some older adults uncomfortable about bathing. Dr. Ray, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I think it's a legitimate fear because there's a lot of consequences that happen after you fall that you can just, as we're getting older, we don't have the muscle, we don't have the balance, equilibrium is off. And if you break a bone, especially a hip fracture, it's a high mortality after that. So that's a very legitimate fear. But that's just one of the reasons I think that adults don't really want to bathe.
What are some of the other reasons?
Well, it's cold in there. I didn't work today. I don't smell because the sense of smell's depleted and you actually don't smell yourself. You get used to those scents around you. So there's that mindset of I really didn't do anything. I don't need to. And sometimes it's too much work. Have you ever had a morning where you got up and you're like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna shower today. And so once or twice it's okay.
30 days.
30 days in a row, we got to talk about, well, how can we solve the problem?
I remember getting a call from a gentleman and he was freaking out because he'd had his first bath by a woman. And it startled me a little bit, but then I thought, how weird. I mean, and so are we prepping for that experience? Are we prepping people for this is how it's going to be? Is the person that's taking care of them talking them through what's happening? I mean, if you think about it that you can't see, it might be hard to hear, and then you're taking them into a cold place. Let's try warming it up. Let's try the warm warm rods that we've talked about before. And just being kind of considerate about what that environment would feel for them.
How many of us woke up today and said, I just can't wait to get naked in front of a stranger?
Right.
Or better yet, my adult children. I'm longing for that one. I just want them to take a poke at this pieces and parts. So, it is. It's in many ways, it's degrading to have to do that. And it's, it kind of removes that dignity barrier. So there are ways that gentleman, you could have easily said, you know what? Hey, we have a female bathing aid, but you can wear your swim trunks.
Yeah.
You can have a removable shower head and you can wash your own pieces and parts, and you should. You absolutely should, while you physically can, do that yourself. And that can kind of give you that sense of privacy and still have that standby. So
Because at the end of the day, you don't want the fall, but you also want the clean hygiene. Because there's some things that occur when, as we're aging, their skin is thinner. We don't have the moisture, the barriers, and then the immune system is really broken down. So it's so easy to get infections, which is the last thing that you need.
And then also simple things like lighting, decluttering is really important because in the bathroom, that's where a lot of people fall. And sometimes it's because of clutter, slippery surfaces. So what can we do for surfaces, contrast, lighting, all the things to make it a more pleasurable experience or spa experience?
Yeah, a shower chair, a simple shower chair. So you're not just standing there sliding around, you can sit. And then have somebody help you step in and out. Make sure you get those handbars put in, and then
those mats that don't allow the slide by and all that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's pretty.
There's lots of stuff that we can do. We just have to be willing to.
Do we have somebody that's able to come in and actually evaluate the home?
Absolutely. Occupational therapists or certified aging in place specialists, people that are really trained in this. And like hand bars, some of them, designers like to call them hand rails, and they fit into the home to where it doesn't stick out like great grandma's old hand bar, that it fits into the design and it's good for everybody. We're all about providing solutions on Aging Untold, and we'll be right back with more.
Still ahead, we meet one artist who prefers to capture nature's beauty in person. We paddle along to share her award-winning art. After the break, Loretta's story of survival and why more people her age are suffering strokes.
Anyone from babies to the elderly can have a stroke. Every year, about 70,000 Americans under the age of 45 suffer from one. Kim Clark from Memphis examines the trend and what may be behind it.
Coming on in.
Loretta Plummer works in the emergency room at St. Francis Hospital in East Memphis. She's been a nurse for 8 years. What is it about being a nurse that you love so much?
I love being a nurse just to have compassion for people, especially as an emergency room nurse. People come in on their worst days.
One of her worst days came about 5 years ago, 6 months after her son was born. Loretta was getting ready for work when she realized something was very wrong.
And then I realized my entire left side went down. I had the facial drooping. I had my slurred speech. So I sat there and I was like, okay, is this really happening?
Loretta knew she was having a stroke. She immediately called 911. Paramedics came and took her to the hospital.
I was in my mid-30s and, you never think about having a stroke or anything really that traumatic happen to you, especially if you're living healthy.
Loretta is part of a closely watched growing trend. Data compiled by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows a nearly 15% rise over a 10-year period in the number of people between 18 and 44 who've suffered strokes. Tennessee had one of the most significant increases, almost 21%.
Everyone always thinks like, oh, my grandmother had it, or my grandfather had it, my great-grandma had it. But now it is starting to kind of trickle down into these younger patients.
What's behind the trend? Physicians say unhealthy lifestyle choices, genetic conditions, stress, drug use, and infrequent visits to the doctor. Becky Mitchell is Loretta's boss and director of the St. Francis Emergency Department.
A lot of times there's a delay in care because they may wake up at home and think, this is going to go away, rather than, having that knowledge and education to know that these are signs that you immediately need to seek treatment for. Call 911.
Early recognition and treatment can significantly improve your chances of recovering from a stroke. Call or see a doctor if you have sudden weakness or numbness, especially on one side of your body, difficulty speaking or understanding, vision problems, dizziness or loss of balance, a severe headache.
Time is brain tissue, so in stroke, it's very important that you seek help immediately.
As Loretta knows, with early treatment, there is life after stroke.
What I loved is she stopped what she was doing and called 911. Thank goodness, because a lot of people would just push that off. Even a lot of healthcare people would push that off.
Because she's in the healthcare, she knew something was not right. But when you're that young, you just think, you don't think about a stroke. You think of something else like, oh man, I have a headache or something else is going on. Let me just see how I feel a little bit later on and all that.
Somebody in the healthcare field would quickly dismiss it as Bell's palsy. Okay, maybe I'm having that just moment for.
But when the whole side goes, that's
that's pretty. It's pretty extreme. The face is one thing, but then when you lose the side,
and especially with a stroke, if you see people who've had strokes, if you think about what's really happening, it's a disruption of the blood flow. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's excruciating pain. So for her just to go silent like that, but no pain, that's unusual.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. They gave the reasons like lifestyle, don't see your doctor enough, but they didn't say anything about environment. And things that can be in your home, things that can be near your home, things you're being exposed to. You have to wonder.
Why are we getting this increased incidence of stroke in people who are 45 years of age and younger? It is definitely a lifestyle. It's a combination. Lifestyle, the toxins, the environment.
Absolutely.
And it's really chronic inflammation because that causes us to decrease blood flow everywhere and you just start blocking off things. Yeah. So everything is kind of all working together. The body's kind of all working together. It's getting hit on multiple different levels to where it just can't function anymore.
When she said time is tissue,
the brain.
It startled me. And I've always known, like, if you have an issue, like you think you're having a stroke or somebody has to get them in the hospital right away or know which hospital is like the stroke specialty hospital. But that resonated with me.
You cannot have a delay in too much time of oxygen to the brain.
Right.
You cannot recover from that.
Great discussion, ladies. We'll be right back with more on Aging Untold.
Still ahead, we meet one artist who prefers to capture nature's beauty in person. We paddle along to share her award-winning art.
For one Louisiana artist, paddling a kayak has become a favorite way to get up close and paint landscapes near her home. Dave McNamara followed along as she created a late afternoon painting session on the water.
Artist Carol Halleck has found a way to combine her love of painting with her enjoyment of paddling a kayak near her home on Bayou Lacombe.
I always liked anything Louisiana, you know, the pelicans, the oak trees, water on the bayou just surrounds me and it becomes a part of you.
I tagged along in my own kayak as Halleck scanned the springtime bayou landscape, looking at shapes, the light, anything that would inspire her to put paint and brush to canvas.
In springtime, it's bright, 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 bright greens, and they only last about a week.
In her small kayak, Halleck is seeing her world from water level.
And so you're looking up, it's giving you a different angle and more access to places.
Halleck notices how the late afternoon sun adds highlights to trees, the swaying of moss in the wind, and shapes reflecting in the water. It might seem like it would be easier to snap a picture and take it home to paint the scene. Halleck prefers the plein air style, trying to do a painting from start to finish while sitting on location in her kayak.
The camera doesn't have the emotion. The camera does not see what you see. It does not see the emotion, the light, and doesn't feel what you feel. When you're painting from a photo, you're trying to do a 3D rendering from this 2D photo. And if you're out in nature, you're trying to do a 3D, but then there's 3Ds in front of you.
Carol Halleck's award-winning oil paintings capture familiar scenes, trees along a bayou, the changing of seasons, the imperfections and beauty of Louisiana landscapes, and the white egret that she always names Geraldine.
I've always kind of been closed off from emotion, not really knowing how I felt. And I think painting has helped me acknowledge what's inside of me.
If every stroke of the brush hits its mark, Halleck says she can complete a painting in less than an hour. And there's always tomorrow, with different light, or perhaps a few more clouds, another chance to capture the beauty and emotion of a kayak trip on the bayou.
Oh, I love that story. She was so smooth with her kayak.
Right.
I love to be on the water, and can I just share that I love Louisiana. Louisiana is one of my favorite states, and I was so peaceful, beautiful.
I'm buying her art. I was watching it. I feel so calm and centered, and I thought I want some of her artwork in the house to create that feeling. It was beautiful.
Wasn't that gorgeous?
Yeah. The other thing is the health benefits of that's what we call grounding, being in nature.
Yeah.
It's just very calming. It just resets the whole body, and that is, and then her interaction with the environment.
I love that she said that pictures don't have the same feeling. Exactly. And so, you know, absolutely, she could go out there and take a picture and go home and paint it, but she'd lose the emotional connection to it.
That makes me think, I think I'll work a little harder to do something like that for myself.
We don't talk about aging and what to expect enough, and that's why we're here, to embrace it and talk about it together. Until next time on Aging Untold.
On the next Aging Untold, when dementia sets in, so do certain side effects.
Well, the brain is struggling to interpret the world and meet a need and to feel safe.
We'll explain what's called wandering and share tips that can help dementia patients and their caregivers.